Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Ann at Martin House Flowers. In today's video, I'm hoping to get both my roses and my dahlias taken care of before the winter. I'm in my south-facing bed, and we have had a week of pretty cool, wet temperatures. It's been in the 50s, the high 50s, and what a change. Last week we had a high of 75 one day, and that was the day that I was dividing and splitting my irises, as well as relocating my new rhizomes in the back bed. And so I had hoped to get a little more done, but I'm feeling like we're running out of time, because in fact this evening, it's the end of the week, it's Friday evening, and we are supposed to get our first frost tonight of around 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius. So I think it's really time for me to first cut whatever dahlias I can salvage to bring inside. So I have a bucket here with some water. I have my pruners, which I do need to clean. I know in some of my videos you saw me just pruning away, but I did clean between plants. And when you're working with roses particularly, you really want to make sure you're not spreading any diseases. So I have my my clippers, my what I use to cut roses. So I've been reading a couple different methods. You know, bleach is the best. Diluted bleach. I think 1 part bleach to 10 parts water is what they're saying. And I've always hesitated with bleach because it just goes back to the old laundry days where every time I used bleach, I would get a spot on my clothing and ruin my clothing, and you can't reverse that. So in any case, I have alcohol spray that I use, and some say you need to let it dry, your tools dry 10 minutes between each cleaning of alcohol spray. So that might be the case in terms of really killing, diseases and bacteria. But that's the information out there anyway. So regardless, I think as long as you're attempting to keep your tools clean and try your best to do that, then you're ahead of maybe most people that don't clean their tools. So I'm sitting right here in front of my Tchaikovsky rose. If you can see, I'm 5'2". It's almost my height. Well, maybe not quite. It's like, close to 5 foot. So here's a beautiful new growth. And what do we do with those? Do we cut them back? Do we leave them? So anyway, let me know in the comments below how you are preparing your roses for the winter. And are you in a zone like myself in Northern Illinois, Zone 5B, that needs to pull out your dahlias and store them? I do plan to store my dahlias this year for the first time. So I welcome any comments on how you store your dahlias, if you in fact do need to dig them out based on your zone. It's a beautiful day. Like, I had 2 layers on, and I'm quite good in a long sleeve t-shirt. But as the shade starts to happen, because it is fall, this usually is full sun, I'm going to probably feel a little cool. But once I get going, I'm sure I'm going to be fine. So anyway, let me know how you're planning to store your dahlias. I've been doing some research. I've seen many YouTubers say that there are different methods. Some store in pine shavings, some store their dahlias in peat moss, and some store their dahlias in vermiculite. And what I did find out pretty consistently was that if you were a beginner dahlia tuber grower, that vermiculite is probably the easiest and most consistent. it helps retain moisture when you're growing seeds. I always put vermiculite on top of all my little cells when I'm growing seeds to maintain moisture, and it kind of regulates it. And so, and it just, it is definitely an easy material. So I have placed an order from Amazon. I went for the largest bag I could find, and it will be here hopefully tomorrow. So that'll be the second part. So for now, I'll pull out my dahlia tubers, the ones I want to save, and then store them once the vermiculite arrives. So the one thing I did read about peat moss is that sometimes it's not consistent, and it can sometimes hold on to moisture or limit the amount of moisture that your tubers get over those dormant months, and sometimes it can contribute to your tubers getting mold and mildew, that sort of thing. So it's apparently not as consistent as with vermiculite. So I'm going to take the beginner method approach and use vermiculite this year, and we'll see how it goes. Oh, the other positive that I've read about vermiculite is that you can reuse your vermiculite. And the other thing I wanted to ask you guys is, do you just store yours in buckets, like Rubbermaid buckets with a lid, or do you store them in boxes? So some people just do peat moss shavings in boxes, loosely covered, and then others use, buckets, I guess bins, plastic bins. So hope you enjoyed this video. So I look forward to your comments on this video about preparing your roses and for the winter, and your dahlia tubers, storing them for the winter months. Thanks for joining me. So one thing I did hear about storing your dahlia tubers and the timing of it is, I did hear from one of the YouTubers that we should wait until your first frost. Obviously, the ground is not frozen after your first frost, but I guess the point of that is to make sure that you've let your dahlias bloom as long as possible, and then after a first frost, obviously they would no longer, or they'd probably get frosted. And this one here, this is one of my favorites, labyrinth, that I definitely want to save. I have several labyrinth, and then I have some that just didn't bloom. And because if you look back at my video when I was planting my dahlia tubers, I had something like 13 in this bed planted, and definitely, like, I see one here in front of labyrinth that didn't bloom. This one is labyrinth, a tag, so I'll save it. So this is a labyrinth, and it has multiple stems, 1, 2, 3, 4 stems. Maybe this one beside it is the 5th. But I definitely planted more here. There's one right over here that is greened up beautifully, but just didn't. It's also a labyrinth, ironically. So what am I going to do with those? Do I dig them up, store them, or just leave them? So this particular one, because labyrinth has done quite well for me in and around this bed. I have one on this side that I know I've shown in a few videos, and so I'll probably dig that up just so that I have as many labyrinth tubers. And who knows, next year my dahlia collection might mostly be labyrinth. And over here, I'll bring you closer, is Sweet Suzanne, and that did really well. And only one of the two Stolz von Berlin, which came from Longfield Gardens, bloomed, and they come in a 2-pack. So I wanted to mention, when I was talking to Longfield Gardens, I was trying to combine a bulb order with more amaryllis. I was trying to combine an order of amaryllis with some maybe was it crocuses? Some small bulbs, snow whites. I wanted to order some snow whites for my dad's tree, to put under my dad's tree, and some blue scilla underneath my red bud. So because they were shipping at separate times, they were going to charge me shipping, even though it was over the minimum order quantity. So anyway, I called customer service and they combined them, and we were going through my past orders, and they mentioned, I want to shout out to Marianne, customer service at Longfield. She was so helpful. She reminded me that although she could see my orders through my email and name, that I really needed to set up an account in order to get credited, because it turned out that my order, I think there was about 5 different varieties, and I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know from all of my video footage and my photos that I've been taking, that I only had, I think, 3 come up, 3 varieties, and that's Sweet Suzanne, Labyrinth, and one of the 2 Stolz von Berlin. And this one over here, again, there were 2 of them, because you get 2 tubers to 1 package, and I don't even know the name of it, and it's not the greatest. So anyway, she went through my 5 varieties, reminded me of them. I have record of them now, and none of those came up for me. And if you recall, I did pre-sprout all of my Dahlia tubers to make sure that I knew what I could see what I had planted in the ground. So yeah, she gave me a credit, and now I have a credit for next spring, because you know, I know that Longfield is always so reputable. We're right here in front of the roses, so much as it pains me to take this down, I'm going to take this main cane and trim it down, because we have such severe storms here in northern Illinois. Our wind, like today is a perfect day, it's not very windy, but this type of really tall cane that I've shown you in Kiss Me Kate, and I'll hopefully get at that today too. Anyway, and this type of tall cane is susceptible to getting bent and then damaged. So I really don't want to keep it up, and I think it's too late for this to bloom, even though there's all this new growth. I don't see any buds, but it's definitely new growth. So, you know, cutting it back, I'm very confident it will make a comeback again next year, because this is the rose that the rabbits ate down to the ground. So what I will do is only prune it back, cut it back to about 2 feet from the base, because rabbits here anyway tend not to go after the taller shrubs. They hide behind or underneath my spireas, but they tend to go for any sort of finer and younger canes, like thinner canes of roses. So, and again, this one made a comeback after being eaten to the ground. So I don't want to promote or make it so easy for them. So I'm going to keep it at about the height of this right here. So hopefully you can see that. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it back. I did disinfect all of my tools with alcohol. It's been over 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to take it down to above a main stem, and I do have one of those Fiskars collapsible bins that you see many people using, but I find that if I'm doing a really big pruning like I am today, that I'd rather just go direct into the bag, because I don't have a compost heap that I transfer those Fiskars cuttings into. I usually just throw them into a bag, and this one was sitting in the garage because it's only a third full. So it's so sad, because here are some rose buds that, as I'm sitting here talking, I'm like really hesitating, but I did cut that one back, and I'm just going to continue to prune a little bit. And once I finish pruning, I do want to defoliate any leaves that are diseased, have powdery mildew, have been eaten. And that also helps me get at the base where I'm going to put a nice mound of compost. And I have a bag of compost, mushroom compost, that I'm hoping will be sufficient for all of my roses. So I'm going ahead and cutting back anything that's weak, and just because typically you want to, you don't need foliage on your shrubs over the winter. And again, it makes the rose shrub focus all of its energies on the roots and going dormant. And it's just literally, for me anyway, it's a matter of 24 hours or less, actually, since tonight, if they're right. It's so ironic because it's a warmish day in the mid 50s, and it's probably just because the sun is warming me up here. But yeah, I'll be leaving town at the end of the weekend, so I really want to get this big job of preparing my roses for the winter. And then that way I can come back and not have that to worry about and start planning for next spring. So this rosebud already, you can see, tried to bloom and got some frost damage. So you know that's going to happen in all of these. So having said that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut these back because I'm looking at this one too. It's not going to develop. It's already shriveled and a little dry. Can you see that? I'm going to go ahead and cut these back. And I like to cut back little by little, like 18 inches at a time, one stem at a time. Here's that center one I cut back, and I'm going to go ahead and defoliate most of that cane. There's actually a branch here, or a leaf node, and there was one right here. So I've cut it back, and there's some brown spotting here. So I'm going to actually go a little lower to right above this leaf node to get rid of that brown spotting that you see there in the cane. So sad. There's a bloom. Shall we leave one on as an experiment to see how bad this frost is tonight? These are weaker stems over here. Not sure if you can see this. This one over here, it's a weaker stem. I always think when I'm pruning my roses, it sort of reminds me of hydrangea shrubs in that when you have crossing branches like this one, it's not positioned properly. It's just going to interfere with other branches that are growing in the right direction. So I just go ahead and pull those, cut those off. Typically when you want to cut back your roses, you want to cut them back to the main canes. And in this case, as I pull this back a little bit, you've got the canes aren't as thick as they have been in the past, and that's because this year they had to start all over from the bottom up because it was eaten, and I thought I had lost this rose. But so these canes, which are main, are pretty young looking, even though it's in its third year. So this is a main cane. This is a main cane. This one in the center is a main. So I have at least 5. Typically I like to leave 5 to 7 canes. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here, and 1 back here is 7. So I think I'm going to just focus on that. So this one is one of the main canes. I'm just going to go ahead and defoliate. This one isn't one of them, so I'm going to just let it get cut back. I've got my bag of premium mushroom compost, and I decided this guy here is an offshoot, and that bud is hardly worth it, and will definitely freeze tonight or this weekend. So we're just going to leave this one bud as an experiment tonight. See how it does, even though I know the outcome, since I already saw some that were trying to bloom and got scorched. I walked over a few feet to where my bag of compost was waiting, and I saw some dahlias that are already definitely frostbitten. So it's, even though the temperatures said that they only went to above freezing, like around 34 last night, definitely there was enough frost that got it. And it's probably a combined, effect with the wind that we've been getting and the rain. I mean, it was so cold and rainy this week that I didn't get out until today. First day in the garden. Do this. And I have done this every single year. In the first couple of years, I used the heirloom roses. This is an heirloom rose. I used their mint compost, and I bought like their largest carton of it, but I just have too many to afford that now. It's just not cost effective for me. And I used, regular compost last year, and it worked out fine. Oh, there's a ladybug. So you can use more or less But I think that's enough because I'm going to go ahead and pile the mulch as well. And that just gives it some extra nutrients at the base. I'm going to go ahead and bring the mulch back. And that's it. Minus this branch that would normally be gone, this rose is ready for the winter. So let's work on the dahlia tubers. I have this tray that's my bottom tray for seed starting, and I'm going to put the tubers in this tray and rinse them out. You don't have to, but I will rinse it out and just sit it in the greenhouse and let it dry up overnight till the vermiculite arrives on Saturday, tomorrow, and then I'll show a clip of that as I sit in here. So I'm just going to go ahead, and as you can see, all of this foliage, and it's so bent that I'm just going to go ahead and cut this back, see if I can salvage any blooms. I don't think this one's already been affected by didn't fully open, and it's been affected by the frost. So it's ready. This one, you can see it's already been frost damaged, so I'm not going to save it. This one too. So I'm going to experiment with this branch, see if it blooms for me indoors. But I will trim back this guy. Down to here, we're going to pull away. And the nice thing about dahlia tubers is they were planted pretty shallow. When you pull away the mulch, you can see the top here, and you can actually see the root. Almost, maybe it wasn't deep enough. So there's a tuber, another tuber. I'll clear away all this debris. There's not a lot of soil attached to it. The root went all the way out there. And I'm going to go ahead and cut back these excess roots. Hopefully you can see that. Let me trim this one back. It was really shallow. And next year it will develop, in the spring it will develop new roots, obviously, and new shoots. This one I'm going to leave just because it's so big, so thick. I'll see what happens. You're going to be learning alongside myself because this is the first time ever I'm saving dahlia tubers. I'm really actually a little surprised that I'm going to the trouble of doing it, but I wanted to learn about it and see if I could save them because I did really enjoy them, especially, whoop, that was sort of a live root, especially that they bloomed in October when, you know, I had fewer and fewer, oh, there's a worm. Oh, come off. Oh, there you go. I'm gonna accidentally cut him. Thought he was a root. Those are the kind of things you see in the spring. And that's where everything will, no pun intended, stem from. That's an eye. So I'm just going to cut it to here. So that I can label it. For now, I'm just walking around and I'm going to get my, get all of the, do it by tray. Just get all of my, and I'm going to maintain this as it is because I'm not comfortable pulling apart any of this to create separate tubers. I'm going to plant it as is. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with that. Do you think I should pull any of this apart? But I'm going to go ahead and give it a light rinse, let it dry in this tray. And in this tray, I'm only going to have one variety, which is Labyrinth. So that's that. So to the left, behind the Tchaikovsky, was the second Labyrinth right there, straight ahead. And I'm going to go ahead, even though it didn't bloom, I'm going to go ahead and lift up the tuber. I'm not going to let it overwinter in the ground. What I am going to do is any tubers that didn't bloom for me, I'm not going to bother digging them up. I'm going to leave them in, more or less out of in the interest of limited time, as well as a bit of an experiment to see if any of them come back by having developed more roots. So kind of cut this to here. No roots, or no blooms, sadly. You can see how shallow that was. And who knows, maybe they were just, there just wasn't enough time to develop their roots and their tubers. I don't know. I pre-sprouted everything, I think I mentioned already. I'm just going to loosen some of the soil, less rinsing to do. Look back at an old video to see if these tubers had gotten any bigger. They probably have. They probably developed multiple tubers here that will, translate to more roots each year. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm successful this year, if it was worth it. This is Sweet Suzanne over here, and I can tell that there are multiple tubers and that frost has gotten it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. So I just wanted to show you my other successful set of tubers, and this is Sweet Suzanne. I just wanted to compare the size of this to the ones on the right there. There's 2 and a bit tubers of Labyrinth, and this is one big clump of Sweet Suzanne with all the roots, which is why there were so many blooms. But to be honest, I didn't stake it well enough, so I didn't get to appreciate the blooms to their fullest. So next year in my journal, today, this month's journal, I need to make a note to source some better staking for my Dahlia tubers. This is the Earth Angel rose that I've now cut back. It has a couple of very long canes that usually bend right over and reach almost to the pathway. So I've cut those all back and defoliated the shrub. And now I'm ready to spread some compost around the base, and then I will put the mulch back. So I have a few roses that are still blooming. This is David Austin's Lady of Shalott. I really should have cut this rose and brought it inside, but I got pretty tired. I had already prepared a few of the roses at the front bed, and tomorrow I will have to come after these David Austin roses here. This is David Austin's Separate Dial with a pretty bloom. Now that it's the evening and I'm editing this video, I'm thinking, gee, I should have cut those blooms. With the climber roses, I will leave them fairly tall. I won't cut them back as far down as I do my shrub roses, but I will try to defoliate the majority of all of the leaves.
What are you doing? Hmm?
Playing still. Maybe I won't see him if he doesn't move.
Boom!
As I came down the side garden with the hydrangeas, I noticed that all the zinnias had gotten frosted, so I had to pull those out. So the next day, I took a walk around, and I'm just showing you how all the roses in this front bed have now been prepared. I was able to cut back some of the other perennials. I cut back the lavender a little bit. I did leave that rosebud on there just to see. It hadn't bloomed yet. And so I have 4 roses on this front bed. I still have those side ones to do, Lady of Shalott, but I started working on my long rose bed. And as you can see, I've already defoliated most of these shrubs. I'm now working on just trimming back the arbor with Eden and New Dawn. Last night I did remove all of those zinnias, and Greg came out to help me out. So we managed to get most of the annuals pulled out of the ground. Containers on the patio have been cleaned up. Sadly, my order of the vermiculite did not arrive yesterday, so I'm not able to show you in this video how I stored my dahlia tubers with vermiculite. I'll have to do that on a follow-up video. But thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this video was helpful.